Good afternoon, everybody. From the giant plains of Cheetah Plains, 550 hectares here in the southern northern Sabi Sands, and it is an extremely and because the first game drive from Cheetah Plains is. Can you hear me, Jean?
No. Yes.
Jean, horrible hash of all of this. It's not actually his fault. Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Right. So I think you get the gist. We're on Cheetah Plains, 550 hectares of magnificent Sabi sands. And the reason we've chosen this particular area to start, of course, is because this is the area from which Cheetah Plains gets its name. A plain, a gabbro plain with different underlying geology to just about all the rest of our traversing area. To the far west, Arathusa, 600 hectares. To the far north and west is Djuma. That is 1,200 hectares of granite-based area. And this particular wonder before us, which is so exciting, is gabbro-based, which produces different soils, and so it makes these wonderfully gorgeous clearings there. You can see some wildebeest off over there. And to the right-hand side of your picture, in fact over the top of my shoulder, where there are some guinea fowl going ballistic for some reason, not sure why. That's actually Mala Mala, everybody. You're looking into Mala Mala, and I actually spotted some elephants just over there. They're in Mala Mala, going to have a drink there at what seems to be some kind of a dam. No, we don't know what's going on here. We've never been here before, so it's all rather exciting. So, you're on a live safari, in case you've come across this website by mistake and there's this weirdo shouting at you from a clearing miles away from anything you've ever seen before. Welcome to it. You're on a live safari, like I say. My name is James Henry. On camera is Jean Hoppy the Foot Gerding. He's also very excited to be over here with you. On the other side of the reserve, on Djuma, is Jamie Patterson, being filmed by Brian Joubert, and they will hopefully very soon be showing you some little cubs, some little leopard cubs. I'm just going to plug in because as soon as they have been found, we will show you. And in the final control, Geraldine Kent, and she's being ably assisted by Kirsten McLennan-Smith this afternoon. So we're going to drive gently down through here and just explore the rest of Cheetah Plains for the course of this 3-hour game drive that you're on with us. Please send us through any questions you have. You are welcome to ask us anything you like about Africa, South Africa. We're in the Greater Kruger National Park, so you can ask us about Kruger. We're in the little section of the Kruger National Park called the Sabi Sands, 60,000 hectares, which is roughly 180,000 acres, and then we're on this particular piece of it called Cheetah Plains, 550 hectares multiplied by 2.4, and you get to roughly 1,200 acres. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to explore and see what we can find while we're here. You're welcome to it, and please talk to us about it as we go. Hashtag Safari Live, questions at WildEarthTV if you're on the email. Otherwise, the YouTube chat, I can never say that right, YouTube chat stream works very well. Cat in Tampa, you say you're so excited you don't know where to look. Well, we don't know where to look either. Let's go and explore, everyone. Oh, first we need to start the car. Hello, Maurice. You're hoping to see cheetahs? Yes, me too. Wild dogs? Yes, me too. Ostriches? Yes, exactly. Beautiful ostrich territory we have over here. And the Anderson male? No. Unfortunately, the Anderson male, Maurice, is way to the west. He's in actually the west of Arathusa into Elephant Plains. So not so much here. Dominant male leopards here, of course, could include Mvula, Tingana more and more latterly, and then also Quarantine and Konuma, the two offspring of, we think, Mvula and Karula, have been spending a lot of time around here, so we're hopefully going to see them a little bit more. The other leopard to look out for is Inkanyeni. She has got a 4-4 spot pattern, 4-4 on each of the side. We could see Tandi here as well in the eastern reaches, or western reaches, sorry, of Cheetah Plains. She's 3-3. We know her because she's been mating recently with Tingana. So those are the two female leopards we might see here. And Kanyeni's got 2 cubs. She is unfortunately at the moment on Torchwood with a kill, so we're not going to see her today. But the possibility exists all the time. Unsurprisingly, in the clearing here, there are a whole lot of wildebeest. And Karen, you say you're very excited to be here, and your first request is that we go straight to 3 in a row pan, which is a sort of famous pan because you think you've seen a cheetah there. Unfortunately, our radio communications are not fantastic at this stage with the final control, so I think that's what you said. I'm going to not acquiesce to your request just yet, Karen, because I want to go to the very far east of the reserve, onto the Kruger National Park boundary. If you can believe it, that's where we're going to be looking just now. There are a whole lot of wildebeest here, and like I was saying, unsurprising that they're here. Wildebeest prefer clearings. You know that we normally see them on quarantine when we're back on Djuma. And so let's ease our way around here, have a look at them, and just appreciate the magnificence of this open area. Now, interestingly, Raisa, you say you're so excited your hands are shaking because finally we have some new scenery. Well, yes, I have to agree with that slightly. Interestingly, as we got here, Connor, who is our mobile tech support this afternoon, said, "Why is this clear?" And Gendre said to him, "Well, there's a lot more sodium in the soil." I told Gendre then that he was talking absolute nonsense and that it was far more likely that it was the underlying geology of gabbro. But I'm looking around at the vegetation here and starting to feel that horrible creeping feeling when you've spoken an untruth. Now, the reason for that is normally a gabbro plain. I'm sure there is some gabbro here, but a gabbro plain is normally dominated by knobthorn trees and a red grass, sort of Themida triandra, which is South Africa's sort of premier grazing grass. This is not the case here. This is dominated by trees you would normally associate with a sodic area. So there are some guarri trees around the place, short guarri trees like that big thicket over there, Gendre. There, yeah, that's it. There's a guarri tree in there. There's some papia or jacket plum trees, and on the side, or the far side there, we can see some silver cluster leaves, which quite interestingly are normally found on the edges of sodic areas into the seep line. So I think, although I cast aspersions on Gendre's ecological knowledge and will continue to do so for the course of the duration of our relationship, I think he does have a point. I think there is probably some gabbro under here, but there's definitely a lot of sodium in the soil, and that's why all the grass is so very short. So Genevieve in New York, you were asking about the soils. That's the basic case. So in the Sabi Sands, let's drive while we talk about this. I can't sit in one place. It's so exciting to go and see what else we have to see around here. Genevieve, soils around the Sabi Sands generally underlain by two kinds of rock. Granite, which produces the standard issue broadleaf Cumbritum woodland that we're so used to driving on an Arathusa and Djuma. Then gabbro, which would normally produce a kind of savanna of knobthorn trees, dominated by knobthorn trees, no marula trees, and far more in the way of long grass, long Themida grass. Now, this particular area here seems to me to be a sodic area, not so much a gabbro underlain area, and that is because it's obviously white. You can see the soil is very pale, and that's indicator of sodium. And likewise, the grass is very short, and that is also an indicator of sodium. Can be quite toxic to the plants sometimes. Very good grazing, but not so good for the plants always. And these scrubby sort of these trees. This is another indicator of a sodic area here. This looks like, no, that's a standard issue Acacia gerardia, but we will find some sweet thorn trees or Acacia nilotica. Sorry, scented thorn trees, Acacia nilotica. They will also be around these areas. Then, Gendre, look, our first birds on Cheetah Plains, not cheetah birds, a fairly standard issue arrangement of lilac-breasted rollers. And they are sitting, I think, also on a red thorn tree. Very pretty birds. What an absolute joy this is to be here. Okay, let's carry on. Right, we're on the southern cut line here of Cheetah Plains. So basically, we're going to take you to the far end, as far as we can go. And I think the signal is probably still fine. And just to let Jerry know, I can hear her pretty much, about sort of 3 out of 5. And so we can't talk to her, unfortunately, but that's okay. And let's go across here now. I'm just getting an update from her while I talk now. You can see the vegetation's changed immediately. We're back into the broadleaved Cumbrian woodland, so that's normal. And we're going right onto the boundary now. And just to keep you posted, Jamie is attempting at the moment to get into the sighting that Brent Leo Smith had this morning of Karula and her cubs. Now, Brent went in there with Sam recently. They did re-find Karula, and so she's going to sit there and see if the cubs don't pop out. So we will keep you posted as that unfolds. Now, what I need to do quite desperately is check the map before we drive into the Kruger National Park and find ourselves arrested. Okay, so we're going to do that almost immediately. So here is the boundary. Here is the boundary of the Kruger National Park. This is so exciting. And you can even see where the fence used to go. So this is it, everybody. Across there is the Kruger National Park. Now, if you look down there, Jean-André, you can see sort of the remains of a gatehouse, I think. Perhaps it was a gatehouse, but you can certainly see a fence that used to run down here. Came down, I think, in 1994. So that's or 92, somewhere around there, somewhere after the new dispensation began, which is indeed very exciting. Now, Bethany, of course, we do take, you're obviously quite aware of the maps. It takes a little while to get to Cheetah Plains. We do have to drive through an area that we don't traverse either north or south of. You want to know if we can film on the way? Absolutely we can. Obviously, we just can't drive off-road in those particular areas. And that termite mound over there, I'll show you a little personal story. A little while back, a friend of mine and I did a very naughty thing. We walked from the boundary, the northern boundary of Londolozi, and we walked actually this very cut line all the way into the Kruger National Park, and we had our morning tea on that termite mound over there, and then we walked back. If you tell anyone that, I'll deny it stringently, but that's what we did. Anyway, let's head north up the Kruger boundary and see what we can find that way. That morning tea we had consisted of tea and crunchies. Delicious, sort of what you'd call in the UK flapjacks. Sort of muesli bar type things. And Lucy, you're in Indiana. You want to know what the first thing I want to eat on Cheetah Plains is? Well, whatever, I tell you what, I'm going to eat whatever Jean-André won't spit out. That's definitely what we're going to eat. So we'll probably find some white berry bush and eat some of that. Let me just keep consulting the map, because we do not want to end up halfway to Skukuza by mistake and be arrested for trespassing. We're okay at the moment, fear not. Let's go to Buffalo Dam, I think. And then, Karen, once we've done that, we'll go to 3 in a row pan. This is so exciting. Not a huge number of animals here. And a big shout out, of course, to Graham Wallington and Peter Braat, who are my erstwhile employers. So I'm a bit sad I shared that story of my illegal foray into the Kruger National Park. Welcome, Peter and Graham. I promise not to do that now. And very glad that everything is going well. The signal is bouncing perfectly off the Cheetah Plains Tower, which we might actually go and show you a bit later. And back to the final control on Djuma. Very exciting indeed. This is obviously a very straight and narrow road, which is what a cut line is. So, Maurice, you're on Twitter, and, well, you're probably not on it so much as using it. I'm just looking at some elephant tracks here. Maurice, you want to know if there are any sodic sites or salt licks So there are no sodic licks that have been put out by people as far as I know, but that whole big clearing that we were on there is one very large sodic site, as unfortunately deeply irksome to my ego as it is, as Jean-Ray pointed out to us when we got there earlier today. So what that means is that the soil is very rich in sodium, and animals like warthogs during a drought, oh, there's evidence, Jean-Ray, evidence of the fence. Animals like warthogs, Maurice, will, oops, I'm about to break my microphone. Animals like warthogs and elephants to a certain extent will certainly eat the soil in times of hardship. Now here is a piece of wire, and that's not normally something interesting to find on a game drive, but to say that it is a little piece of history. So it's a pretty ordinary piece of wire really, but it has been here for many years, and it's a piece of the fence that used to line along here when the Sabi Sands was not part of the Greater Kruger National Park. Now it is basically gone. The Kruger National Park initially was 1.8 million hectares, and then it opened up to the private reserves on the western fringes, of which the Sabi Sands is one, and this fence came down round about 1992 if I'm not mistaken, and then it became 2.2 million hectares, and that of course was then increased around about the year 2000 when the fence between Mozambique and the Greater Limpopo, or the Limpopo National Park in Mozambique, and Gonera Zoo into the northern Zimbabwe were opened to form the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, say that after a heavy night, and that is now, we are now part of 3.5 million hectares of land, of wildlife land. So this area has become more and more and more vast as the years have gone by, and we hope that it will continue to do so. Now I'm just seeing the tower at Nkoro at the moment, and that is a little bit disturbing because I hope I haven't gone north over the boundary. I don't think I have. No, we seem to be okay. Don't worry, Peter and Brian, at least Graham, we'll be okay. Yes, we're okay. Hello, X-Ranger. You want to know if there's a bet on the first person to get lost in this new area? I don't think we need to have any bets there. I think that given my record, we all know precisely who is going to get lost first. Ooh. Sandra, I know you don't like these, but at least when I point them at you, they sit down. There is a sulfur orange tip, as far as I know. I think that's what it is. There, beautiful butterfly. Stunning. And just listen, everybody, listen to the silence for a little while. You can hear a crested barbet going. And I read a very interesting thing about a bird that is able to call like that. A bird that is able to make an extended call like that, seemingly like a didgeridoo player, which seems to never run out of air because they can breathe in through their noses and breathe out of their mouths at the same time. Astonishing ability. I can't do the same thing. But a crested barbet, which is sitting somewhere over there, I can't actually see it, I'm afraid. What they have, all birds have, is something called a syrinx. They don't have a larynx like ours, and where our larynx is just below over here, theirs is just above the lungs. It's actually below the kind of windpipe. And it means that they can basically breathe into one lung and exhale out of the other at the same time. So they produce this continual sound, which I think is quite interesting. Don't you, Jean-Ray? Are you astonished and sore amazed? Flabbergasted. Flabbergasted, I knew you would be. And just a quick shout out as well to the clouds today. They could not be more magnificent if they tried. Just a wonderful array of different colors of grey interspersed with that deep autumnal blue in the sky. It's just so stunning. All right. While I continue my exploration of Cheetah Plains, I think we should hand you across to the great Queen of Djuma and perhaps George and Charlotte. They are being investigated by Jamie. I will see you just now.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari. I'm speaking very, very softly for a very good reason. Most of you, I think, will know by now that Queen Karula, our wonderful leopardess and many people's absolute favorite leopard character, brought her cubs out for the first time this morning to show Brent and to bring across to, as it turns out, to bring across to a kill that she has hiding under this tree. Now, I'm speaking very softly and I'm giving her plenty of space because most likely the cubs are around here somewhere. She's looking for a nice, comfortable place to lie down in the shade. She does have a belly full of impala. I have Brent and Sam to thank for this particular sighting. They spotted her not far at all from the road. She's actually visible from the road. And you can smell, as you drive along, you can smell the dead impala that she's got settled underneath the tree. So we've inched our way in. We're sitting very quietly. Brent did see the cubs about. So what we're doing is we're sitting very, very quietly and just waiting for them to see if they will come out to say hello to us or if they're going to stay hidden and sleeping. I suspect they're probably sleeping in the shade somewhere. Obviously, I'm not going to go looking for them, so we'll stick for now with our time with Karula. We do only have a limited time with her because we know that she has cubs. We're going to stick around with her for probably the next 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to move off and leave her to her own devices. But it's so wonderful. This is the first time that we know of that she's brought her cubs to a kill site. Very well done, you clever girl. Now, apparently, you've all started there's been a Twitter poll started for what's the most exciting sighting, whether it is our new traverse on Cheetah Plains or whether it is the prospect of Karula's cubs. And it seems as though the cubs are winning out this afternoon. Of course, we have to just wait patiently and hope that they decide to come out and play. If they don't, well, there'll be plenty more opportunities for us to see them again. But it is amazing how the exciting sightings have all seemed to have coincided on exactly the same drive, or at least the same day for us. I was out on tracking team this morning when I heard Brent call in that or at least I heard that the cubs had been found, and I saw all of your screenshots. Those dangling feet. Isn't it amazing how comfortable a leopard can look in the most uncomfortable looking tree? And to be honest, if you didn't already know that she was there, she would be so easy to miss. Now, her cubs are 2 months and 1 week old at the moment. So they are ready to start weaning, and in fact, leopard cubs are recorded as having been weaned as early as 6 weeks old, only a month and a half. Most likely, however, it's around 2 to 3 months, even 3 to 4 months before they are completely weaned off their mother's milk. I love 3 dogs. You were just saying you're very glad that, as wonderful as it is to see her, you're glad that it's going to be a limited time spent with her. And yes, absolutely. And that is the way that sightings of these cubs will be handled in the future. There will be time limits, and obviously there will only be 1 vehicle allowed at any one point in time. So we will just wait patiently, hello gorgeous, for opportunities to see her. Now already we have unusual animals on Cheetah Plains. Let's jump back on with James and have a look at a black-backed jackal.
Running away there is a jackal, everybody, and that is look at its white tip. It's a side-striped jackal. Wonderful to see it in the middle of the day, and it's no coincidence that we're here in a clearing and the jackal is there. Much less confiding than its cousin, the black-backed jackal. and much more common in these southern reaches of the Greater Kruger National Park. But isn't that lovely? Looks like a little wolf. There, he's hiding behind the tree. Oh, he's great. That's brilliant. He was standing still, of course, until Gendre had a consumptive attack and started coughing viciously. And the jackal, not wanting to become diseased, ran away. It's just, we're going to drive very slowly forward. He's obviously not very used to vehicles, that jackal, and that is not unusual. As Gendre was saying earlier, he said he bets if we saw a leopard from the Kruger, it would be a lot more wild, and that's completely true, and quite possibly the origins of Djuma, that leopard that Brent found the other day and spent so much time habituating, I reckon he came from the Kruger. And this particular region of the Kruger has got no roads in it, so it's not unusual to find animals that have never seen people before. Isn't that exciting? There we go, side-striped jackal. Right, I'm hoping the sound of my lapel mic now, Jerry, will be slightly better. Okay, so we've turned south. Basically, we almost went on to Nkuru by mistake, but we avoided it. I checked the map in time, and we're now heading sort of back south, winding our way back towards those enormous clearings along a road called Kestrel Road. In fact, let's go along this road here. Don't know which road it is, don't care. There's a wildebeest in that clearing there. Another clearing, can you believe it? It's like being in Serengeti out here. Utterly marvelous. There, let's go into this clearing and have a look there. And as we are driving along, I am noticing more and more that the characteristics of a sodic area as opposed to a gabbro plain. Oof, and now we have got a new radio channel going. That is the Eastern radio channel. I'm very nervous of making myself known there. We'll just leave that to rest for a little while, I think. There's no reason for me to introduce myself live, create consternation. Anyway, right, we have a small thicket, Gendre. Can you believe it? A whole thicket full of trees through here. Nothing particularly unusual this far. And love three dogs. Just before we go back to the leopard, you want to know that jackal is the same size as a wild dog. It's slightly shorter and slightly lighter. So a jackal probably weighs in at around, if I'm not mistaken, sort of 12 to 15 kilograms, and a wild dog up to 20 kilograms. So that is 20 kilograms is about 44 pounds. Right, let's go back across to Karula. We shall explore here and let you know if we find anything.
I mentioned that leopards always look so incredibly comfortable when they lie down. Karula's not managed it terribly well. She hasn't quite found the position that she wants to be in. She's just moving backwards and forwards constantly on a very leafy tree. Or maybe that's the spot. Not quite sure. Oh, goodness gracious. Just a nose sticking out. Now, her cubs are most likely not very far away from her at all. They're probably hiding in the long grass or even in one of the neighboring trees. And yes, Laura, the cubs are now big enough for them to climb trees. They have been seen in one sighting, well, not sighting, but when somebody came across them right at the tip-top of a marula tree, which is one of the reasons why I keep sort of casting about and checking the neighboring trees. It's amazing. She knows exactly where they are and is quite comfortable with wherever they are. Unfortunately, she doesn't seem to be able to find much in the way of comfort. Hey, big girl. Thank you for bringing your cubs back to us. We really appreciate it. Now, fast asleep in the shade of the tree, hidden completely in the leaves. So yes, Laura, they can climb trees. They've probably been climbing trees from about 3 or 4 weeks old. And one of the reasons why we have avoided looking for them has been in order to give them an opportunity to be able to climb and to perfect that particular skill. Now, just as I was coming in here to have a look for Karula, the kudu started barking away like crazy. They'd obviously spotted her. And I think that might have been one of the reasons that the cubs were sent scurrying into the undergrowth. It's either that or they're fast asleep somewhere. Now, her kill is on the ground, and hopefully it's a big male adult impala. And an impressive kill for a leopard like Karula. And we've just seen Shadow do that as well. There we go. You can see it tucked away behind the trees there. I don't want to get too close or to reposition too much. And Lenny, you are right in a sense that it is dangerous for Karula to have her cubs by a kill. But unfortunately, this is when life is probably at its most dangerous for these little cubs. She has to bring them to a kill, even if the hyenas can smell the kill, and given how good their sense of smell is, she has to do it. They have to feed off the kill. She cannot lactate. Unlike hyenas, lions and leopards do not lactate for an extended period of time. They have to get their offspring eating meat as quickly as possible. So already, as I said, her baby's on their way to becoming weaned. So the only way that she can look after them is to bring them across to a kill, let them feed off it. And what you'll probably find, Karula being Karula, and having the experience that she does have, you'll probably find that she's going to move them before it gets dark tonight and before the hyenas start to become active. That would be my guess as to what she's planning on doing. We're going to spend another 2 minutes with her, and if there's no cubs coming out to play, then there's no cubs coming out to play. And we will wait until next time she decides to bring them to us. She's found the most uncomfortable looking spot in the entire world in which to sleep. It's a really good idea that's come through from Alan. Alan wants to know if I've had a chance to measure the cub tracks so that we can almost create a growth chart. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think that's exactly, Alan, what we should go and do next. We can measure them to the millimeter and track their growth. Now, the difficulty will be determining one from the other, because if it is a male, if we have one male cub or two male cubs versus one male and one female, their paws are going to grow at incredibly different speeds. Oh, Karula, that's just not very comfortable, is it? It just looks so unpleasant up there. And it seems as though today, no sign of the cubs coming out to play. That's okay. There'll be plenty of other opportunities in the future. I'm happy for now to just see her and to know that her cubs are hidden and safe and well fed. And Wendy, most likely, as I said, it's most likely that they are sleeping. Might also have been a little bit frightened by the barks of the kudu, but you were wondering if she'll call them out to feed or if they will come of their own accord. And the answer is they will come, most likely at this age, they will come and investigate of their own accord. And instinct kicks in and they will start to feed. Oh, Karula, just not comfortable. I thought when she first went up there that maybe the cubs were hiding there. This is the leafiest branch I have ever seen a leopard lie on. It's almost made it looks as though it's almost made a sort of a platform for her, rather than just a log, rather than just a branch to lie on. And she does appear to have one very itchy head. Okay, girl. And everybody else, I think it's time for us to leave Karula. Let her carry on her day unimpeded. Hopefully she moves her cubs away. I'm sure she will. With all of her experience, I'm sure that she's going to move the cubs away from the carcass tonight when the hyenas are out and about. Hopefully she actually hoists it into the marula tree that she's currently climbed it up in. That will give it and keep it safe from any attentions of the hyena. 1 second. I just want to see if she's going to reposition or if she's actually going to go down to fetch cubs. Because she might also go and fetch them depending on how she's feeling. And Marianne, who is watching in Texas as we watch Karula slink up and down this branch, you were wondering if the cubs are capable of tree climbing, why then did Karula not put the kill up in a tree so that they can feed in safety? And the answer is because it's too heavy at the moment. As I said, it's a full-grown adult impala. From what briefly I saw of it, it doesn't look as though she's eaten most of it. She probably hasn't pulled the stomach contents out. So I think at the moment, Marianne, it is just because it is too heavy. Hello, gorgeous. Where are your babies hiding? Oh. Flop. Okay. Okay. Well, I think that might be that for now. She looks as though she's just found herself a more comfortable spot. And Monique, just on the subject of the antelope that she couldn't drag up into the tree because it's a little bit heavy. Monique, you were wondering if perhaps Shadow, since Brent had her yesterday feeding on an adult impala kill, and Karula might not have aimed for specifically for larger kills because they have cubs to feed. Woof. Look at that. Look how happy she looks. Totally content. Monique, I don't think so. I think it's more to do with what we've been discussing about the time of rutting and the fact that the male impala at the moment are so distracted that they make for easy targets. So I think that that is the most likely reason. Their hormones are flying, they're all fighting each other, they're constantly distracted, and it's been windy and dark most nights, and you'll probably find that both of those things have worked in the favor of the Queen of Djuma and her daughter Shadow. Hello, girl. I'm going to let her move around, see what she decides to do, and then we're going to... She is now digging. I'm a little bit uncertain as to why. I think she's just going to urinate. All right, we're going to leave her. I'm going to let her move around to her kill in peace, and while I do that, let's head back over to James.
We're on Hornbill's Nest Road, everybody, and Karen, we're on our way to 3 in a row pan. You can see how the vegetation has changed completely back to what we're more used to, the broad-leaved red bush willow woodland or Cumbritum woodland, and that is much more common, of course, all over Djuma and Arathusa. The other thing that I want you to see, if you can find, is perhaps some new trees that we don't know. I've already seen one. I didn't pick a piece because we were driving very quickly to get to the clearings before the start. But I think you'll find even just a simple little shift down slightly south towards the Sand River, just a bit further down the large slope, will give us a different suite of species. We'll get the odd change in the grass and in the trees. Beautifully kept roads here at Cheetah Plains. Magnificent. No bumps at all. Hey, Gendre, your back's feeling much better already, isn't it? Yeah, Gendre's not shy of telling me when I drive like an idiot. Can't really blame him for that. Oh, Jeffrey in Texas, you want to know how many documented cheetah are actually on cheetah plains? Oh, roughly 3 dozen, Jeffrey. There are at least 36 of them running around here, great herds of cheetah. Jeffrey, no, I'm obviously being facetious and sarcastic, and I shouldn't be. Jeffrey, because cheetah are not territorial, it's difficult to say. So we know that in Kanyeni the leopard hangs out here. We know that in the western side Tandi hangs out. We know that in the northern reaches that Mvula comes down here. Quarantine and Gunuma, they spend time here too because they tend to be a lot more sedentary. A cheetah's distribution is almost exclusively distributed by 2 things. One, prey availability and habitat. And well, then they kind of go together. So like those clearings, they're excellent cheetah country. I mean, that is really perfect cheetah country. And then also the presence of other large predators. Lions, they don't like lions. The Birmingham boys have been spending a lot of time here. And so, you know, I don't know how many cheetah there are around this area at the moment. And likewise, they also won't be around hyena. So that's basically it, Jeffrey. The 2 male cheetah that have been seen around this area quite often, and Brent saw them, I think, almost, not quite a year ago, probably about 6 months ago, on the Buffelshoek cut line. They stick to the Torchwood side, and then I think they come down here. So the most likely cheetah that we'd see here would be that little coalition of 2, and I think that they will probably check from clearing to clearing, depending on where the lions are and where the hyenas are. And Debbie, you were asking about the lions and what kind of lions we can expect to see here. Well, Styx pride is the most likely sort of pride that we'd see around here, and then of course they've got some little cubs which will start moving with the pride in the next 6 weeks or so, so that's always a possibility. And then the Birmingham boys have been spending extended periods on this particular area. Let's quickly go across to Jamie. She's got something very exciting.
I was in the process of pulling out. She's just started calling them. There's a contact call back. We're going to sit in absolute silence. Such a soft, subtle contact call. Can hear her comforting them. Oh, this is incredible. Tax for Jamie. Look at. Hi. You're so cute. Tax Brent. I can't pull out at the moment. The Bantuans have just come out right next to the vehicle. I can't pull out. I will as soon as I can. I'm actually shaking. This is hands down one of the most extraordinary wildlife experiences I have ever had in my life. Number 2 is a little bit more shy, but there you go, they can climb the trees. They can climb trees. It's okay, little one. Little one. So much tinier than the other. We're gonna sit completely still. I can't turn the vehicle on. I don't want to scare them. Look at that agility. Isn't that incredible? Hi, guys. Well done, Karula. Running to the kill. Do you hear that contact call? Oh, little ones, welcome to the world. Your mommy's a very clever girl. They sound like little frogs. They sound exactly like tree frogs. Hi. Hello, gorgeous. It's okay. You keep movements nice and slow. Tex, if you can, just stand by. This is incredible. Tex? Tex, I'm going to be pulling out of here. I haven't been able to turn on. I'm going to send you back over to James on Cheetah Plains. I'm sure he's dying to update you as to what is going on. And we will be leaving this incredible sighting. I'm grinning from ear to ear. Brian's grinning from ear to ear. We're going to be leaving. We will catch up with you later.
So we're now on something called Owl's Nest Road, everyone, and we did go past 3 in a row pan, but what I'm going to do quickly, simply because we can, and Karen wanted to see it, we haven't come far from there, and I expected that you were going to be with Jamie for a little while. So let's go back there, Karen, and we'll show you 3 in a row pan, the famous or infamous, depending on your point of view. It's not too far from here. And a lot of the game viewing on Cheetah Plains does centralize on this pan, and especially during the drought time that we had, there was a huge amount going on there. The Birmingham boys killed a number of things. There seemed to be leopards all over the pan all the time, and we were very jealous, of course, every time they were called in on the radio. Now, we are jealous no longer, because we too can enjoy the fruits of 3 in a row pan, which is just around the next corner here. It is obviously called 3 in a row pan, Jean-Ray, because there are how many pans? 5. No, not 5, 3. That is incorrect, Jean-Ray. Bad luck. Your appreciation of arithmetic is poorer than your appreciation of the ecology of the area, which I have to admit, like I say, was slightly more competent than I expected. Otherwise, we haven't seen a great deal of game since we got here, but it was very nice to see that jackal, of course. Oh, and there's an amur falcon. Let's just try and get into a position where you might be able to see it. Sorry, genre. There you go. That's an amur falcon, everybody, about to go back to Siberia. It's very excited. That's why it's flying around so much. Very difficult to film. Tammy, you want to know if we're allowed to off-road here? Yes, absolutely, we're allowed to off-road here in exactly the same way that we're allowed to off-road everywhere else. So very high-profile sightings that we can off-road, but we're not just going to drive off-road for any old reason, any old thing. Right, here are the pans. Karen, I hope you're excited. 3 pans in a row. Hence, 3 in a row pan. 1. Anything in this pan of particular interest? I think they're... I'm just listening to the radio. I think there are a couple of terrapins in here. 1 or 2, just sort of you can see their heads sticking up. Sorry, there is a leopard actually, but not where we can see it. What is that? Must be a terrapin trying to catch something. It is on coral, which is just north of us. So that's quite exciting. All right, let's keep going forward. So here is pan number 2. Oh, and pan number 2 is filled with life. We've got 2 old foam nest frogs there, Gendry, those white things sitting in the tree. So those are made by the grey tree frog or foam nest frog. Of excellent protection for the eggs. And they're formed when the frogs mate. Lots of males will try and mate with each female, and the ensuing sort of conflagration causes the formation of that foam. And then there's a blacksmith plover or blacksmith lapwing now firmly behind a bush just over there. There it goes. Tink, tink, tink. Apparently its call sounds like the hammer of an anvil. Hammer and anvil. I personally don't hear that. So that's pan number 2, Karen. And pan number 3 is over here. Pan number 3 is looking a little bit tired. Pat in Nebraska, you've got a question that I'm afraid I missed. If you wouldn't mind doing it again, Geraldine. Oh, I see. And Pat, you want to know if we might put a waterhole camera here. I don't think at this stage, but Peter and Graham are watching, so if there is any chance of putting a waterhole camera at 3 in a row pan, then I imagine they will be able to tell us. That is the expired wildebeest, looks like, or no, it's a female buffalo. It's a female buffalo. And she was killed here. I remember them eating this thing a little while back. The Birmingham boys killed this young female buffalo not too long ago and left its remains messily here, eerily, on the side of the 3rd of the pans, so named 3 in a row pan. Now, Connor, the mobile tech crew for the day, tells me that the road to the tower is not far from here. And I wonder if we shouldn't just quickly show you how all of this stuff works. If I can find it with ease, then we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do that at another time. I see a little road here. Let me just retrieve my map. That's That's an interesting question from Georgianne in Illinois. I don't think we've heard from you for a little while, Georgianne, so thank you very much for your question. And you say that it seemed so quiet there, that there was a lack of bird song in those clearings, and could it be that the clearings, because the clearings are so open, that we're not hearing that much in the way of bird song? Georgianne, yes, that is well possible. Of course, birds are much more likely to be, certainly songbirds are much more likely to be in the trees than they are running about on the ground. So yes, it could well be that that's why it's quiet. Also, you may have found that, I don't know what the weather is like on Djuma, you know it's so far away from us here, but as soon as the sun kind of goes under the clouds, you find that the birds do stop calling. And I don't know why that is. So if you were in the sun around the Queen and her little ones, then you will definitely find that the birds would have been louder than they are here. But it is pretty quiet. Right, now the tower is up here somewhere. There, I can actually see it. Jean-Henri, can you see it? It's off to the left-hand side. Just through there. You can see it there. There's the tower, everyone. We'll take you to it. So that tower was erected 2 days ago by two highly competent men of few words and much facial hair, an impressive group. And we are going to be producing I think it's Geraldine's producing a 52-part mini-series on the erection of that tower, and it's all the behind-the-scenes shows that went on there. We've shot about 7,000 hours of footage, which will be condensed down to a 52-part series to go out on the internet. I'm talking absolute rubbish. We will put out probably a little Safari Live story about putting that tower up and the tremendous risks and personal sacrifices that people have made to bring you visuals from Cheetah Plains. Now, I know you can't see him at the moment, but the figure of Connor Teague's mobile tech support is on the vehicle at the moment, and he's more camera shy. Well, he's more camera shy than Al Capone, I think, and he tells me that the road to this tower is nearby here. I'm not sure that I believe him. Connor, the deal is that if we don't find this road in the next 2 minutes, you are going to be on camera. You are going to make your debut to the world. That's the deal, Connor. And see the tower. Sing the road to it, though. Oh, here we go. Dash. Oh well, we'll give him a reprieve for now. Connor, of course, I don't know why he's so shy of the camera. He's a strapping young fellow. Watch out there. He's cut a bit like Bruce Lee. Tall, blonde hair. I mean, if I looked like him, I would desperately want to be on camera instead of being short and balding like I am. Can you imagine how much I'd love the camera then? Right, we're going to head towards the tower now. Now we have interesting update here from Connor. Of course, does not have communications with the final control. With the final control, Connor, they would like you to do something, reboot the Pi. Do you know what that means? He's nodding relatively vigorously for him. He says he knows how to reboot the Pi. I have no idea what a pie is other than something delicious to eat. Watch out there with the aerial. Well done, Jean-Andre. Fast as a rattlesnake you were there. Have you rebooted the Pi? Oh, he has to get off the car, he says. He's now trying to communicate with me. I tell you what, we'll stop when we get to the tower, and Connor can do what he has to do. I'm not sure why he needs to reboot the Pi, but he does. Right, so here we are at the tower, everyone. Right, Connor, off you get. Reboot the Pi. Where do you have to do it? In the car. He won't even speak. I mean, he knows we're live and he's unable to even bring himself to say a word. Anyway, it's in the back of the car. Right, so there is the tower. It is, Connor, how high is it? About 35 meters? No. 100, no. I've got no idea. 70 meters? 120 meters? 21 meters. That's got to be higher than 21 meters. Is that all it is? Connor, how high is the tower?
It's 21 meters.
It's 21 meters, yep. Thank you, Jerry. Well done. It's 21 meters tall. You may have heard Connor's sultry voice there. And on it is a repeater. So how this works, everyone, is that the camera sends a signal to the aerial on the back of the car. That in turn sends a signal to the antenna on the top of this tower of 21 meters. And there you can probably see the little satellite dish at the top. That then bounces a signal straight to the Voyatella tower, which is just above final control. That then goes into the final control and out through a satellite link. And I think it goes from there to London, if I'm not mistaken, and from there to the rest of the world. And that's how you are seeing us. Isn't that amazing? Absolutely astonishing out here in the Greater Kruger National Park. A high definition signal coming to you live. That's a very nice camera work there, Jean-Ray. Well done. That's 2 almost compliments I've paid you in just one day. And that thing there, that is a box full of impossibly complicated things. And above it, just to answer Leal's question in Washington, above it is a panel of solar panels. And that is to power the batteries and the repeaters and different bits of incomprehensible things that live in that newly built aluminium box. That aluminium box was built by those very clever people with the large facial hair and little words. They have since departed, having done an exceptional job here. Connor, get on the car. Right, Connor is remounted and we're off. Apparently the Raspberry Pi has been successfully rebooted. On we go. Now, of course, Connor works with Alex. Alex is a terrifying Russian. And Alex, of course, has been with Wild Earth for a long time, started as an editor, and I think sort of like most delinquents, discovered that he was actually quite clever and eventually became the technical guru. Now, we had another question that I'm afraid I failed to hear because the comms are a little bit rough out here. So, Jerry, if you won't mind going with that again, please. Now, Tom and Renee, you're in Illinois. You very cleverly noticed that I am not wearing the green hat that I had the other day, which was bought for me very kindly by Alex the Russian. And the reason for that is that I found it slightly large for my small head. You see, I've got a very tiny brain, and my head has become increasingly small since I've become bald. And so I went and I bought another hat when I was in town yesterday getting fuel. And this hat is the same size as Jamie's hat. Jamie has a small head because her brain is compacted. She's got an enormous brain, but it's very compact. And that's why I have another hat. I feel it fits my head very nicely. Don't you, Jean-Ray? Jean-Ray? You must try me. Right, let us continue our exploration. We're going to head back onto Owl's Nest Road and back sort of towards the eastern side of Cheetah Plains, back to the northern edge of those clearings that we had, and hope maybe that leopard that they've got on in Coral doesn't come down here. That would be wonderful. Imagine a leopard on our first drive here. Now, I'm just going to quickly consult my map. Yeah, we're on Pipeline Road, not Owl's Nest Road. Sorry about that. we will be on Owl's Nest Road shortly. Now, Monique, you always ask very intelligent questions. You say you've noticed that the grass is very short here. Is that normal? Has there been more or less rain here than there was at Djuma? And are we likely to see any different antelope as a result of the fact that it looks like the grass is different? So, Monique, first of all, on the clearing, yes, the grass is shorter. It's not short because of rain, it's short because of the contents of the soil. It's that sodic kind of soil which is very rich in sodium, and like I sort of mentioned, it is quite toxic to some of the plants, and so you do get the short grass clearings. It also gets extensively grazed by the animals, and that's why it's kept short. But if you were to go into these areas, we're now into this broadleaf woodland, and you'll find that there is very short grass, possibly slightly shorter than it is at Djuma at the moment. I think you'll find that they have had slightly less rain than Djuma, not too much less, but it is incredible how firstly how isolated the rain has been this year, and also how exponentially the rainfall decreases the further east you go. So the further east from the mountains you go, the less the rain is. Now, in terms of antelope that you might see here that you wouldn't see on Djuma, well, the most obvious one is a sable. They do see sable here every so often, not very often. By every so often I mean probably once a year or so. So that's a possibility, coming out of the Kruger onto these clearings. But that bull that we did see at Djuma that went across the dam wall that one night, what an amazing thing that was. That bull came onto Cheetah Plains and I think in Karula, and spent a bit of time around here, and then he went off. But otherwise, no. Unlikely that we will see any other kinds of antelope here that we wouldn't see at Djuma. Remember, we're not actually that far away from Djuma. I mean, it feels like we've kind of come to a different universe because we're making such a big deal out of it. And it is a big deal because it's wonderful to be here. But the vegetation is the same to a large extent, and so the suite of grass and tree species are the same to a large extent, and so the animals' suites will be pretty much the same as we see there. But the chances, of course, of seeing other different kinds of leopards or other leopards and things would be wonderful. Right, Jamie is back on Djuma. Let's go and get an update from her, and I will continue my exploration.
Wow, that was the most incredible sighting that I have had in a very, very long time. What an amazing experience. I actually almost want to just go and stop and park off somewhere, take in the view, and just take in how lucky we were to have her comfortable enough with us to call her cubs out and for them to come all the way up to us. It is just the most incredible feeling, and I know that you are all feeling that wherever you are in the world. It's just one of those moments that you can barely take in, and that perhaps there aren't even words to describe it. Just to let you know, obviously I have left immediately. You heard Taxon coming in. I couldn't get hold of him on the Game Drive channel. He couldn't hear me saying just to stand by. I'd already told him I was pulling out when she started contact calling. Let's just have a look at the Drakensberg Mountains and this incredible weather we're experiencing. So yes, I was saying that I was going to pull out. Taxon couldn't hear me, and as soon as he came in, the cubs came back out and I left the sighting. So all is well there. We just slightly overlapped, but I left immediately. And we've been able to enjoy this incredible experience. Now, it might be that we don't see those cubs again for days, but it has all been worth it, or weeks even, depending on where she decides to stash them away next. But this has just been one of the most memorable moments that I've had while I've been on Safari Live, if not the most memorable moments. I've heard so many stories about Karula being the and it was so wonderful to see it in practice. And those little contact calls that sounded exactly like foam nest frog croaks. That's exactly what they sounded like. And Brad, you were wondering, as we go off in search of other things, although I'm now so distracted, I don't know quite what I'm doing. But Brad, you were wondering, does Karula have different contact calls for each cub? And the answer is no. It's a standard contact call for both of them. But she will recognize each individual's response. That was just absolutely phenomenal. Okay, sorry, I'm overusing adjectives here. It's hard not to in a situation like this. It's just one of those moments that you just have to stop and take in. It reminds me, it takes me back to my first ever leopard cub sighting, which was with a female that I knew almost as well as some of you have known Karula. I'd followed her for many years. Her name was Rulani. Ironically enough, that also means peace in one of the different African languages, just like Karula does. And Rulani was like Karula. She used to come and lie in the shade of the vehicle on a hot day. She was comfortable around us. She used to walk right past us. And I saw her first two cubs when they were about that age. She showed them to me at about that age. They were wandering out, contact calling to her. And I spent many, many hours with those cubs, watching them climb marula trees, learning their way about. There was two females. And they're still alive and well. They took over parts of her territory, and it was just an amazing process to watch that whole thing happen. And that's quite a unique opportunity, to watch a leopard's life from birth, follow a leopard's life from birth right up into adulthood, and then of course breeding and producing cubs of their own. And it's one of the things that I think makes Safari Live unique, is that unless you are working in an area like this as a guide or in whatever other capacity, unless you are working here, it's something that you don't quite get to experience as a guest, because you come out and you're with the animals for a few days and then you move on. Whereas with our Safari Live viewers, they've been viewing these animals from the very beginning, and Karula's entire life has been followed through. Right, another unusual animal sighting on Cheetah Plains. Let's go back over to James.
I can't see them. I can't see them. We've got some ground hornbills everywhere. There we go. Oh, look. There on the top of the tree. Just surveying the land. And a highly endangered bird, this, everybody. The ground hornbill. Not on the ground at the moment, but look at the light being filtered through these stunning grey clouds. Just at this distance. Isn't that stunning? Gee whiz. And just below it, the red-billed buffalo weavers industriously maintaining their homes just before the winter. Gosh, that is wonderful. So there seems to be a flock of 3 of them. There's one more quite a long way in front there. Can you see it, Jandri? If you zoom into the left there on the sort of scraggly tree on your left, you'll see it there. That's it. It's in that tree, and then the other one I think went off slightly towards the east. There we go. That's stunning. They're both cleaning their beaks fastidiously. It's a good word, that, don't you think, Chandra? Oh, look at that. Now, just appreciate, everybody, this bird probably weighs in the region of 12 kilograms. No, maybe a bit lighter, say 8 kilograms. Now, for it to be jumping and flying like that, the deftness, the neurological pathways and sort of automated nervous system response for that bird to leap up to where it is now from where it was sitting, knowing that it was facing the wind so that it would be able to open its wings, make itself slightly lighter, hop, flap twice, and then land exactly where it is now, I just find amazing. And I think a lot of us, we sit and we watch birds every so often, and we see them hopping around in trees without appreciating that the coordination required for it is absolutely incredible. So 2 unusual sightings that we've had here. Let's continue along the road. I'm just going to check which road we're going to continue along. This is, as far as I can work out, Kestrel Road. The Kruger Park cut line is just over to the east there. Yes, I do. Here we go. Let me show you. So Bill, you're in Tennessee and you want to know, do we have a map like Scott used to show you? Absolutely we do. Here it is. Let me just straighten it out a bit. Okay, so that's where we are. A fairly sort of trapezium. It's a trapezium basically, is Cheetah Plains. That's us, the blue bit there. To the right hand side of the blue bit is the Kruger National Park. North of it, come on, that's Nkoro there. North of Nkoro, if I'm not mistaken, is Torchwood. So Djuma is here. That's where Djuma is, over there. Arathusa there, and then Mala Mala is that bit there. And we started our drive. Basically over there. Okay. There you go, Bill, in Tennessee. That's basically how it works. So I'm just following this little blue dot at the moment, making sure that we don't end up somehow at the Nkoro camp, where they will either arrest us or give us cake and tea. The former, which would be very unpleasant, the latter, wonderful. Connor just perked up at the mention of cake. Hello, Gary. Gary, lovely questions about that endangered bird, the ground hornbill. What's its wingspan and what does it eat? Gary, it eats largely things like tortoises. It's the only bird that is able to peck open tortoises. It's got that chisel-like beak. It can crack open the carapace of a tortoise, and so that's largely what they eat. Otherwise, they'll eat rodents, they'll eat snakes, they'll eat basically anything meaty that they can get their beaks over. This is called buffalo pan now, everyone. And while you observe buffalo pan with Jean-Andre there, I'm quickly going to just confirm exactly the wingspan of a ground hornbill, because I don't know, and I want to know, and I also want to know exactly what it weighs. Right. So I'm just looking here on my very clever app here, and they're only 4 kilograms, so that in pounds is about 10 pounds. Chandra, don't laugh at me, I'll punch you. They're about 3'6" tall, 110 centimeters. I won't really punch Chandra, I promise everybody, mainly because I'm scared of him. And I'm just quickly checking if we've got a wingspan here. At the moment, we don't have a wingspan. No, I'm afraid no wingspan on this. So the wingspan, I would say, is roughly the same height. I'd say it's probably a bit more. We'll say 1.5 times the height of the bird. So if the bird is 3'6", it's probably about 4.5 feet wide. It is quite a wingspan. It's quite impressive. You agree, do you? The eco-genius filming me at the moment agrees that it's probably about 4.5. Okay, I was absolutely correct. Phew. They've just Googled it in the final control. 1.2 to 1.8 meters, so between 4 and 6 feet. Thank you very much for that, Geraldine. Sorry, between 5 and 6 feet, so I was a little bit under, actually. No, I wasn't. No, between 4 and 6 feet. And Paul, an interesting one from you as to where they nest. Now, it's a wonderful question that I don't know that I'm supposed to be where we are now. What's going on here, Jean-Andre? There seems to be a secret a secret missile site here, launching pad. Look at that. You mean not a secret missile site? Okay. So some solar water panels there, I think. I'm just loading the map here. Yes, it would seem that this site is used to pump a buffalo pan. Okay, so we're going to reverse slightly. Sorry about that, everyone. Paul, one of the reasons that the ground hornbill is endangered is because of nesting sites. So you asked, does it nest on the ground? The answer is no, it doesn't. Would it nest in a tree like that one we saw it in? No, it wouldn't. It would nest in an enormous tree cavity. So it would need a tree sort of the size of this weeping boerbean here. That's the big tree in front of us. It would need a piece of that tree to die so that the fungus could get into the heartwood and eat away there, and then it would go into a cavity there. And one of the reasons we reckon that they are becoming endangered, or they are endangered, is the lack of nesting sites. And there's a lack of nesting sites because of obviously habitat destruction everywhere. They think that in areas where there are lots of elephants, where elephants will push over big trees like that, that's creating a problem for ground hornbills. So they have to have really enormous cavities in big trees. So if your big trees are starting to disappear, so the nesting sites for hornbills will be reduced. I think I'm copying this, so just to let Jerry know, we're only copying about 2 out of 5, Jerry. But a question from James Richard about what ecological niche the ground hornbill fills. Well, James, you know, it's not difficult to answer so much as to say that it's so they don't eat, to say that they fit into a trophic niche or feeding niche different from the other raptors, in that they can eat tortoises, which many of the other animals aren't able to do, so they're able to exploit that. They have a more catholic diet than many of the other raptors, and by that I mean they will eat just about any piece of meat that they can. They're pretty good at catching things like snakes and possibly even ground-dwelling rodents, where with that big beak, where you'll find that many raptors wouldn't be able to do that. So that's the kind of idea of the trophic niche that they fill. Let's head across to Jamie and see what she's doing on Djuma. We'll continue our exploration.
I was just chatting a little bit about this particular block and how tracking leopards here can be quite scary. And this gentleman over here is one of the reasons why. A buffalo enjoying his Saturday afternoon. There we go, I am correct, it is Saturday. Wow, I think that's the first time I've got the day right in a long time. His Saturday afternoon spa date. Oh, if you heard that bird shooting across, that was a Cape turtle dove. A particularly noisy response. I just want to see if, never mind. I just want to see if maybe it's a male pursuing a female. They usually make that sound when they are looking for a little bit of attention and love, just like the giraffe with James were doing this morning. Back to our Dugger boy. You can really see where the name Dugger or Mud Boy comes from. An old gentleman like this. It's all right, boy. Getting comfortable. Spend as much time as possible during their day just resting in the mud, happily ruminating away. You can see the baldish patches around his eye and the jaw constantly going. And during the day, unless the buffalo bull is feeding, you will almost always see him chewing away like this, bringing up balls of cud and then re-chewing them again for the round 2 of the digestive process. And I've noticed that compared to giraffe and antelope, buffalo bulls seem to chew for a really long time before they swallow the cud ball. I don't know if that's because they form bigger balls in their stomach or what the reason is, But it's just one of those small observations that probably if I hadn't been working in this particular job, I might never have realized. Because you find yourself, when you're looking at an animal through the camera, or at least in my case, through a monitor, you find yourself observing all manner of different details on the animal. There, he swallowed that one, and up comes the next one. And you can sort of see what I mean about how much longer they chew than, for example, a ruminating giraffe. I see the bit of a shimmer to his eye, a little bit of haziness there, and I don't know if that's the light reflecting up from the muddy water or if he is starting to build up a cataract there. I think it could be a cataract. It's not the gentleman with the really blind right eye, because I saw him at Treehouse Dam earlier. It's interesting how, or at least we've got 2 buffalo bulls just in this area that are starting to develop cataracts. And I don't know whether it's come through injury, and especially through knocking heads with each other. Oh, there goes the next mouthful, and here comes the next one back up, bulge. If you look carefully when he does that, you can even see the bulge in his neck as that bolus comes back up. But yes, you can just imagine the impact force of 2 buffaloes going head to head at full strength. And I'm not really talking about the sparring sessions that they go through. I'm talking about a really serious battle for access to a female. And you can only imagine how an animal as bulky as this one, how much momentum and force they would be capable of exerting on each other. And of course that boss at the base of the horns, that thick set of bones, makes for a very, very solid impact surface. And it does, that boss does distribute the force across the skull and stops it from sort of centering around the brain cavity. Although in buffalo bulls, that's quite a small area. Maybe not surprising either. There goes the next one, watch carefully. And there it is. Here goes the bulge of the next mouthful. He is absolutely liberally coated in sticky mud. And he has to enjoy the last few moments of these particular pans. I would guess that they will be dry if this weather continues to heat up. And it has been slowly heating up. I think we're just in the tail end of our cold front. These muddy pans will be out of use for the next few months until we come to summer once again and the rainy season. When the rains first occurred, this muddy pan stretched all the way across the road. James Richard, you've suggested that this particular buffalo looks like a crab crusher to you. That might seem like a very, very random statement to those of you who haven't been maybe watching the last few shows. Suffice to say that Pinchy Whiner, the crab that was living in the hole around a mud wallow, James discovered that his hole had been destroyed and basically mangled, and he suspected largely due to the actions of animals like buffalo having a good wallow around them. But hopefully Pinchy Whiner's managed to find a nice secure place. It must happen with freshwater crabs in this area all the time that a buffalo comes along. I don't know, James. I think innocent until proven guilty, although circumstantial evidence, he's in a pan, Pinchy Whiner was in a pan. Maybe we can draw a correlation there between the two. He disagrees. Was that affirmation or denial? I think the tail flick means no. He denies staunchly. He is, in fact, James, terribly offended by your accusation. Can't you tell by his tremendously expressive face? No, not so much. Oh well, we'll have to go and question the other buffalo, see if we can get some. Oh, he agrees. 2 for yes. 2 for yes. He thinks we need to go further afield and go and question the other buffalo and see if they have any answers to the mystery of who was responsible for the crab's home destruction. And I think we'll need to gather a bit more evidence before we start pointing too many fingers about. What do you think, James? That's what I think.